Hello and welcome to Education Talk. Now, this is your best program on education on television. You're very welcome. I'm Wilma, and today we'll be looking at the pledges on education made by the various political parties. In the studio with me today is Dr. Chris Mafidon. He's a consultant when it comes to education, and he's an advisor to monarchs and presidents. Dr. Chris, you're very welcome to our program.
Good morning, very good morning to you, Wilma.
Thank you so much. Let's look at all the pledges. Let's start with the Conservatives. Here we have 30 hours of free childcare per week for working parents of 3- and 4-year-olds, and to create at least a further 500 free schools in England by 2020. Will that work?
It will work if they have the will, but I'm not happy with the fact that they are just protecting the funding for students. The number of students we have are increasing. The challenges we have, the problems that we need to deal with are increasing. If we already know that we are under-investing in our education. So if we are protecting it or ring-fencing it, whatever word they are using, they are not aggressive enough, they are not adventurous enough, they have not really given the real priority that the OECD countries are giving there. So we should review that and say we will invest more in education.
But let's look at, they also have zero tolerance for failure, immediate support to turn around failing or coasting schools.
That's fantastic. Anyone should pursue that. We can't accommodate anybody in the society that is not being developed, trained, or in education. And that person must be committed to getting the best out of themselves. If you get the best out of yourself, you top the class. You don't even think about passing. You top the class. That means you are a distinction student. And I want every student to walk home with that, knowing that they can be the best that they want to be.
Let's go through all the pledges. I'm sure parents can decide which political party to vote for when it comes to education, because the education of your child is very important. Let's look at Labour. It says protect education budget for 0 to 19-year-olds so that it rises in line with inflation. Cut tuition fees to £6,000 a year.
The protection is still consistent with what the Conservatives do. Essentially, they are doing exactly the same thing as far as the budget is concerned. Yes, fine, they want to cut the tuition fee. Yes, they should. I would say they should erase the tuition fee because it's still a hurdle. It's still a physiological. If you like, some people say, oh, why should I think about paying debt when I finish? So psychologically, some students will still prefer to go for an inferior route to developing their talent and skills. We should make sure that all our boys and girls are given the opportunity, some may take it, others will not, to go to university without any fear that they will be debtors at the end of it.
But we need more money in education.
Yes, if we fund it rightly, we'll find out that the taxation that we get from graduates, because we worked it out. I mean, the Chancellor is aware of that. Over a lifetime of a graduate, he pays 3 times more in taxes than if the person was a non-graduate. So why wouldn't you go for the bigger slice of the cake than say, oh, we want to make sure that only those that can afford £9,000 a year goes on to study at uni?
Now, this is an interesting one for parents. Ensure all primary schools guarantee access to childcare from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
That's freeing up every working parent. It means that the school is not just giving the children opportunity to learn, but it's also providing extra facilities, after school care, so that parents that are working don't have to either work flexi hours or take time off off-time work to look after children. That's fantastic. It's consistent with the working pattern of anyone that is involved in gainful employment. And
also to cap class sizes at 30 for 5-, 6-, and 7-year-olds. Of course, we should have our classes capped.
For every year. I mean, that's why I'm wondering, why should it be specifically for 5, 6, and 7? What's magical about Kids Stage 2 and Kids Stage 3? If you're a teacher and you've ever taught a class of 15, compared to that of teaching 30, your productivity is radically different. So if the government really wants to be a competitive government when it comes to education and when it comes to out-educating other countries, that's why we are no longer an island. We may be geographically an island, but economically we are part of a global village. So we should look at what our neighbors are doing left to the and the east and west and find out that, look, they are too serious with anything to do with education, and we should wake up, really.
Let's go to the Lib Dems and UKIP. Now, the Lib Dems guarantee qualified teachers A core curriculum ring-fence the education budget for 2 to 19-year-olds, a strategy to end child illiteracy by 2025, and 15 hours a week free childcare from the end of paid parental leave. Anything attracting to parents on that? Students?
Apart from the free childcare and the paid parental leave, but the problem is that Lib Dem will have real serious credibility issues, because last time they had the most juicy education policy. For some reason or the other, they compromised on it, and people are very, very sore, still sore in the memory of a lot of students that knew that they were looking forward to not paying any fees, and now saying that the fee is going up. So good on paper, that's all I would say. Let's wait for the implementation. Let's wait
for the implementation. Now, the National Union of Students have released a flyer, what they think about those who made promises and failed the last time. And that's it on the screen now. What does it say? That flyer, it's hurting.
Yeah, it's
for the Lib Dems. Not a very good one for them.
Right, that's right. Because it's a matter of saying, if you really have sat down and thought through your policy, no matter what happens, try and defend it. Even when you know that you are not going to implement it, but defend it. If you defend it and you lose in your defense, it's more pardonable than if you then say, oh, we'll try and make sure that we cap class sizes, and then the class size goes up for any reason. So I think the issue of credibility is a serious one.
Liar, well, the logo is there, even though the name of the party is not mentioned there. Let's go over to UKIP. It says, scrap sex education for primary school children, allow secondary schools to become grammar schools, scrap fees for students taking degrees in science, technology, maths, or engineering, on condition they pay UK tax and work in the discipline for 5 years upon completing their studies, and abolish key stage 1 SAT tests at primary school level.
The policy is just all over the place. I really don't know the overall strategy. Why would you abolish a milestone assessment of a child at the age of 7? You just want to know, you spend 2 years in a school, let's find out what you've learned, what you've missed. That's essentially what Key Stage 1 for. So why would they want to abolish it? It's difficult for me to see the logic for that, because you want to stock take, you want to do an MOT for your car every year. It's useful for us to also do an MOT for our brain and our learning every year, but this is even every 2 years, and they're abolishing that, so that's completely idiotic. Why would you say you want to you still want students to pay fees for degrees in law? But if you're reading biochemistry, you wouldn't pay. That's essentially what they're saying. They are selective in where the students will pay fees.
Maybe to get more students into the sciences.
We should get all our students, irrespective of their aptitude or talents, developed. We must get musicians. You cannot say we don't need musicians. If we don't need musicians, we all go mad. People that worship, people that sing, never have psychiatric problems. So they need to know that it's a health issue if you have creative people, because some people are right-brained, others are left-brained. So you cannot prefer one over the other. I know we are in a technological age. I support the enthusiasm they are expressing for technology, but please, they should extend it to all courses. It shouldn't, UKIP should review it and make sure that if they want to be taken seriously, they should make education available to all that desire to have education.
And allowing secondary schools to become grammar schools.
Yes, that's one good part that they've thought of, because they want to allow selection, and that should be national. If it's national, the pressure on certain schools will ease, and we'll find out that our students will develop at their natural state, rather than now, if you're in a local authority that does not have a grammar school, what happens is that those that achieve level 6, when they are leaving primary school, end up in a secondary school that is not able to cater for them adequately. So I'll support that, but I think they should review everything.
Well, we've gone through the policies from all the parties, and the 4 major parties really, and parents can decide which party to vote for when it comes to education. Remember, the education of your child matters, because the investment you put in the child will tell a lot on the generation we have for tomorrow.
Absolutely, and your single greatest investment on earth is your child. Not your car, not your house, name any worldly possession you have, is going to depreciate with time. But if you invest in any human brain, you find essentially the joy of having somebody taking over from you, whatever discipline, whatever field you are in, is something nobody can describe. So I think every single parent must look at that aspect of the policies, and then on the basis of that, cast your vote.
Well, we'll bring you more. We will be bringing you more on the policies made by the party leaders when it comes to education. You can send emails to educationtalk@loveworldtv.co.uk. Let's go over to the school choices now. Parents during the week were receiving information on which school their child would go to, and some missed out on their first choice of school. Why did they miss out?
We haven't had a planned system in terms of birth registration and tying that up with the day or the year they start primary school. Because we sent out about 500,000 letters out, and a quarter of these parents could not get their primary school of choice. And that's disastrous, because we cannot allow that margin of error. If we say
that's
2% or 3%, if it's single digit, that's fine. If it's double digit, it shows that we haven't planned for our children. We're giving birth to children, they're registered as children, we know when they were born. Then we didn't believe that they were going to grow up to 5 or 4. Why didn't we know that since we still pay child benefit on every child? So the government knows every child on every street, because we have it on our data in terms of child's benefit. Why didn't we think they were going to start school at 4 or 4.5, depending on what local authority you are in? So 25 is too huge an error for anybody to make.
Is the error from the council, from the local education authority?
It is a link between the Department of Education and the local authority. The Department for Education has delegated that specific responsibility to LEAs. And the LEAs should be able to just write a simple, straightforward letter to them, and they'll be imported, they'll send the entire file to them, their database, and know how many boys and girls are living within our borough, and therefore be able to make spaces available and plan for them.
Does that mean the Department of Education did not properly supervise the LEAs when it comes to allocation of schools?
Evidently, because I don't think there's real communication between the Treasury, that pays child benefit, the Department for Education, and then the local education authority. There's a gap. There's evidently a gap, because we have to be able to know that we're spot on. If, like I keep saying, if the margin is 0.1 or even 1%, that's fine, but 25%, no, we cannot tolerate it, because we have the technology, we have the wherewithal, we have the databases. We know how many children we have. We know those in care, those with their parents. We know that, because every single month we make payments on behalf of children.
Now, for a parent whose child has missed out on their first choice of school, what steps should a parent take?
The first thing is to register your rejection of what you've been given. 2, institute an appeal immediately. You can contact us. We'll send you a free booklet that spells out to you. It's a book. It's an e-book. We'll send it as a PDF file. We'll send it to you. You follow step by step. You look at the strength of your daughter. You look at the strength of the primary school local to you, and then you match up what your son or your daughter can do with what the local authority can do. You look at the distance between your house and the school. We can show you how to do that on Google Map. Say, how many meters are you from the school, and therefore you put in an appeal. If the school is a Christian-based school, you look at your Christian credentials. You look at, have you been a Christian? How long have you been a Christian? If it's faith, what type of faith have you been practicing? Even if you are of no faith, if the grandparents are of faith, guess what? You can put that in the form and appeal, because that of the grandparent is as significant as that of the parent. So anyway, get in touch with us, and we'll give you all the tips, and you can easily win your appeal.
And what if there are no longer spaces in that school?
Oh, they have provisos for making, apart from wait listing, they can wait list, and then they can increase the intake. If there's a population boom in the area, all they need to do is make recommendation or representation to the LEA, and they'll be able to expand, because that's one of the policies of the current government. They allow schools to expand to respond to the growing needs of the area. So I want the parents to really put pressure on the school, because again, they are not doing it on the basis of spaces. Right now, they are doing it on the basis of computerized random allocation. That's essentially what they did.
And what is the probability that an appeal would be successful?
Previous cases have shown that 25% of appeals are successful. The ones that lose not on merit, but on a technicality. That means they didn't get the date right. They didn't get the right form. They didn't go to the website. They didn't contact the school. Instead of contacting the LEA, they contacted the school. Or instead of contacting the school, they contacted the LEA. Most of them are just on a technicality. That's why it's so painful for you to lose out on an appeal just because you did not tick some boxes. It's unfair, because I think it should be more meritocratic than procedural.
Now let's go to the head teachers of school. Having a head teacher, a very good head teacher, is of utmost importance, because that tells a lot on the culture of the school. What do you think makes a good head teacher?
A head teacher has to be a parent. You must see every child as your own biological child, so you'll be able to respond to their needs. Some of their needs might be psychological, others emotional. You should be able to provide all the support a child really needs, and then work with the child. Once you know the child, you're able to identify the needs of the child, you're able to work with the child so that the child flourishes and blossoms under your care. If you're just coming as an academic deliverer of content, then you completely miss the point. So because it's going to be pastoral, you have to care about them. If you don't care enough about the children, then you get a better job or get a different job. Because teaching should really be taken as a vocation. I want to be able to raise giants, for instance, or I want to be able to raise the greatest professionals ever. So therefore, I go into teaching. And when I see a child, I want to see what is the talent in this child? How can we bring out the talent in this child? What do we need to support the child? Get in touch with the parents, get in touch with any other agencies that is involved in the child's life, and get the best out of the child. It's not just reading and writing, it's the whole character that you're trying to form.
Does age matter?
Not at all. It's interesting. It came out in a recent appointment of a very young head teacher. No, age has nothing to do with it. It means what is really important is ability for you to connect with a child, get the confidence of that child, and do the best for that child so that that child develops in all areas.
So it's all about the passion and the conviction
that you have for the vocation. Because it's after the vocation of the priest, next to that is the teacher. Because you're really looking at a new life, and you are trying to get the best out of that new life and encourage that new life and pour praises where praises is needed and discipline when discipline is required. So you give section, you give, if you have to give detention, you give detention. Say, no, boy, you are not supposed to do that, or girl, you're not supposed to do that. But essentially, you're a parent. You're a second parent to the child.
Let's talk about book fairs. What is the importance of attending a book fair, both for the parent and the student?
If you want, you'll probably find out most of our knowledge is still written down in print. So if you are able to explore your environment, you find out that you have only used one major tool. Before we had technology and digital, and even then, we're still struggling to be able to get hold of digital materials in something. So if you are interested in knowledge, you want to pursue any body of information, you want to be able to explore a new area, it is useful for you to get the established body of knowledge as represented in books. Although I know we're gradually going to e-books, and the book fair was still massive this year. It's in its 44 years. Right now, we are having a 44th anniversary of the book fairs, and it was massive in the Olympia all week.
Book Fair 2015, what did parents and students miss?
They miss the emerging technologies merging with the old technology. They miss the fact that the essence of the book was technology based, because before we had books, we had teachers. Teachers came and delivered their body of knowledge, and then they left. Now, when we had books, the teacher could deposit their knowledge, have that printed and circulated. So it wasn't just one teacher to a classroom of 15 or 20 or 25 or 30 as you have, but now you can put your knowledge or your expertise down in black and white, and it be shipped to China, it be shipped to India, it go to as many countries as possible, be translated to Russia. So the world literally became your domain when the book was printed. Now technology is taking it a step further and say, no, you don't even need to physically print it. You can go straight to my website and download that. So that's the sequence, and that's how development has gone. And I feel if you haven't exposed yourself to knowledge, you have really robbed yourself of real vital information that can make the difference between success and failure.
Talking about the book fair, for those who have missed the event, can they get more information about it?
I think there's a link on our website straight to the organizers. Yes, you can still get a lot of information, and we're hoping to get some clips in a future edition of the program looking at specific genres and say, okay, because this is a genre that looks at this looks at sports, this looks at academic, this looks at primary, so it's very, very specific. When you drill it down, you find out there is no conceivable area of human existence that somebody is not writing about.
Well, it is still decision-making time for parents when it comes to the education of their children, and you have a conference coming up. Let us know more about the conference and if people need to purchase a ticket to attend the education conference.
If you're on this program, if you are, since you're a viewer of this program, you don't need to pay for the ticket. All you need to do is go to the Eventbrite website and just click on it and put in your details. And if you ask, how did you get to know about the program, write Education Talk. If you write Education Talk, the price zeroes out to literally 0.00. You don't have to pay anything for it. But if you're a parent, you're anywhere in Nottinghamshire or in the Midlands, or in fact, you can travel from anywhere you want, anywhere you live. But essentially, it's in Nottingham, and we want to be able to share with the parents what we've seen are the biggest factors when it comes to a child's success. Every parent ought to know that. Once you know that, you can make up your mind that, yes, I want my son to be successful, or I want my daughter to be successful. If you don't know, nobody should blame you if your son or your daughter turns out whatever way they turn out. So you need to have the tools, because once you have information, you are empowered to be able to bring about success in your son or daughter's life.
And when is the conference coming up?
It's on the 25th of April, 10 o'clock in the morning, all the way through to 5 o'clock, and 26th Sunday morning. I think that's just a brief talk, but there are multiple workshops on the 25th. So it's a Saturday, no school, so you can't use that as an excuse. Come with your son, come with your daughter. There's going to be creche available, so you don't have any excuse. There's a lot of parking, so you don't have any excuse in terms of parking. So make sure you come down, and come down with lots of notes. Is it
going to be streamed live?
Some of it.
For those who can't go down to Nottingham.
Yeah, some of it. So I know my workshop is going to be done almost like a webinar. So if you're on Google Hangout, you'll be able to follow proceedings, and we will talk to the slides, and then we'll take Q&A. The extension of the day's event is going to be Q&A, and we're going to have I think the MP is going to be there, and quite a few of the policymakers are also going to be attending as well. So you can literally ask them questions one-to-one or face-to-face on that day.
So it's literally about how to ensure that your child is successful when it comes to education
and even
ensuring
life.
they top the class.
Yes, that's right. And when it comes to education and life, how do you raise a successful child and a happy child?
How do you raise a successful child and a happy child? Well, Dr. Chris, we've come to the end of this program. But just one more word for parents. The Easter period is over. Students have started going back to school. It is exam period for some children. Going back, straight away they're going into the exam hall. How can parents encourage the child to do well in exams?
You must praise them. The more carrot you give, the more people are encouraged to work. And if they make any errors, even join in apologizing, because they didn't intend to make the error. So this is not the time for you to rebuke anybody. This is the time for you to be a cheerleader, because their exam is around the corner, or they're having some form of assessment or time-constrained assessment. So please, this is not the time for you to rebuke the child. This is the time for you to ask, how can I help you? That's one. Two, this is not the time for you to send the child to go and read, or your son or daughter to go and read, and then you do something else. You get involved in entertainment. You should, at the same time, be also involved in something educational.
In other words, when the child is reading, you should be reading a book.
Absolutely. You should be reading a book, or get something out from work and do some work, so that the child does not feel bad that they are made to work, and then you or every other person in the house is relaxed.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chris. Quite a tip for parents there. Thank you for coming.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Viewers, this is Education Talk, and here we look at various challenges faced by all stakeholders in education, and we propose solutions to these challenges. If you've got any questions, you can send them to educationtalk@lobotv.co.uk. Enjoy the rest of our programs.